Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of Standard Catalogue of Comic Books. Quite a mouthful. I think there was only 2 volumes of this. This book is huge. Not the sort of book that you would want to lug around a comic convention or comic mart, just sort of checking them off. It's quite weight, probably more than I would actually buy of comics in terms of weight. But still, this book came out in 2002 and 1,230 odd pages. There is a second volume. I don't know, or second edition I should say. I don't know if there ever was any more. I think that was it. Let's just go through it. It's massive and very impressive. Now, I'm not a mega fan of price guides. Price guides are okay. I have bought them over the years. Of course, they're always out of date after a while, and this one is seriously out of date now, of course. But still, full of lots of great information. 145,000 comic books, and also includes pricing as well as populations, etc., for sales figures, which is quite useful. But unfortunately, it doesn't include sales figures for very early comics. Also, Marvel, all the sort of standard would have been nice, but of course, those details are not available. So, what can you do? You've got lots of little essays at the start, really quite good, fascinating little essays, and got here how to use it inside the catalogue listings, got all the details, and then actually to the listings. Now the listings are actually well done, and the thing I like about this book, probably more than anything else, it does include a lot of additional information. Now in the various Overstreet ones and other ones I've collected over the years of these books, you don't generally get this sort of information. It's not a huge pictures, the pictures are very small, so if you're coming to it looking for the covers, they're very tiny, but they are in the other one as well. Obviously, the Overstreet one is even smaller. You can see there, but it got also lots of information about the comics. Unfortunately, it doesn't do that for every single comic. Like Ace of Spades there, nothing. Or Ace Comics Presents. I mean, absolutely fine, but it would be nice, obviously, to have a blurb about it. Sometimes some of the information, I think, may be sometimes excessive, since it's obviously very repetitive in many ways. So you go here, say like this. So you've got lots of information like Cap City orders. I'm surprised they just didn't put CCO or something, so you would get it sort of down to a lot smaller. They could have crammed in even more to each other, and then perhaps had information about each of the titles. But they've gone for a fair amount, like Age of Bronze. There's quite a lot of detail about it. If it's not a comic you're familiar with, well, it's really quite useful. Now it's in black and white all the way through. Things like here. All-Star Comics. So you've got All-Star Comics there. And you can see it's got all the listing, obviously 1, 2, 3. But it's got quite a chunk, sometimes in like the Overstreet one, you might have 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. It gives you the price and all that sort of information. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but of course I haven't bought the recent ones. Maybe that's improved. Maybe they've had a lot more information. But this does come with a lot of information about various things. You can give like titles and things there, so you can see each of the ones, not just first appearances and things. This actually gives details about, Justice Society of America initiates, Johnny Thunder, Dr. Midnight thinks fast, Johnny Thunder joins the team, etc. So it's a decent amount of information. Also, sometimes when it comes to here, I mean, this one, let's have a look. This is the Avengers, I assume. No, Amazing Spider-Man. I knew it was going to be something typical. But you say, let's go for that one. Yeah, you can see you've got the statement there. Oh, it has actually got listings for some of the Marvel ones. 370, wow, that's a lot, 373,000. Now, that's consistent each and every month. That can't possibly be the case. Could have sold exactly the same numbers. Anyway, I don't think that's the figures exactly, but still. But it's also got lots of first appearance of Randy Robertson. You've also got here To Squash a Spider, Crisis on the Campus. So it gives you details in terms of titles as well, for some of them. Obviously not every single comic has got that level of information. But also it's got things like Angel First Series. Now I remember the Angel one. Now that was Dell. Was it Dell? Yes, Dell Comics. Not Angel, the one from Marvel Comics. So you've got quite a bit of information about Angel. Again, if you didn't know much about it, there it is. Lots of information. Also, lots and lots about like Archie. I mean, so many, millions of Archie books. But even there, it actually gives quite a lot of detail. It even gives the statements there. Wow. It does actually give quite a lot of information that I didn't... I thought it was... Certainly, obviously, the ones in the 50s and 40s, probably information is not so readily available. Certainly, obviously, the one like Archie's one, that is a staggering 155,000. And also you've got here Avengers West Coast. Now, of course, it stops at 2002. Now, I don't think there were many more issues after that anyway. I think that was 102 was the final issue anyway. But it does have a lot of detail, which again, like I say, would have been nice if they had actually just reduced that down. Maybe they could have put S, like statement, and then 152,000 or whatever. And also the orders, 26, blah, blah, blah. They could have reduced it down a lot more. They could have put NM and then obviously the value, just put colon the value instead of putting the word value each and every time. A minor criticism, but you could reduce that down and then have, like, say, even more information about the titles. And that would have been fascinating. I really genuinely love that bit. Like there, Battle Tide, as well as Beagle Boys. Again, didn't know much about the Beagle Boys title. Gives some details about that. And Blood Wolf, or Blood Wing. See, unfortunately, like I say here, Eternity, I don't know anything about Blood Wing. I was going to say Blood Wolf again. Blood Ties, again, another one. It would be nice, obviously, to have had a bit of a blurb about what that was about. Because then I might think, you know what, I'm going to go and find out about that comic. I know I can look online. But that's not the point. But this is just an absolute... But again, you can see I'm just holding it. I'm thinking, whew, it's quite hefty. Walking around a comic convention with this probably would have been tough going. I mean, you could. Maybe it was more for the dealers, maybe. I don't know. Obviously, a dealer could have that at the back and sort of just pick it up and look through it. Like I say, many of these titles I've never heard of. Deadpool Team Up. Near Mint, all the sort of... Doc Savage. I love those ones. And again, of course, the values are completely out. I mean, I would love to pick up some of those. And of course, it's American prices. So it's not the UK ones. And the UK prices never match at all. Sometimes I always think that what happens is the UK price matches the US price. So you've sort of got £6, $6. Or even more in most cases. Always seems to be the way. You got here Doc Savage. Oh, Millennium. Didn't realise that. Doc Savage Gold Key. So you've got that. Wow. Ooh, 35. And many, many more. Frankie Comics. Oh, Margood. See, a lot of publishers. And I'm always fascinated by all these different publishers. Thought that would have been Timely Comic. Frankie, it must have been. Oh, they must have just been one of the weird titles that the names they used. Margood. How weird. Ghost of Dracula, Eternity, Ghost Stories, Dell, and so on. You know, this book is super impressive. If you're looking for a comic book checklist that really is actually quite interesting historical document as well for, you know, finding out about comics over the years. Also, it includes apparently, and I haven't found one, just flicking through, things like whereas graphic novels as well. Obviously, that's completely changed now. I mean, there's millions of graphic novels out now. But back 2002, there weren't so many, so I guess that you probably could bring out a book the size of this with the graphic novels nowadays. This sort of one, Martin Mystery. Never heard of that, Martin Mystery. So pre-orders, 6,000 odd, Dark Horse. And it's also got the artist name, the writer, all sorts. You know, very useful information which you can flick through. Now, I don't know, obviously in many ways this would be nice to have on a sort of... You can get all this information. GCD, I expect, has got quite a bit of information like this, but I still quite like just flicking through a physical book like this. Otherwise, you spend your time going up to the listing, typing something, and then you've got millions of minutes. And I really love the Grand Comic Database, whatever it's called, GCD. It's amazing. But sometimes it is really tough going to try and find a single title because you just got a long list of thousands of things unless you can really work out how to get it down to one or two titles. And this, at least you can look through it. Oh, you remember it being sort of like romance or something, romantic titles, romantic story. And you can find it. And again, gives a lot for many publishers, blah, blah, blah. And this is Charlton. Of course, Charlton produced millions and millions of comics. You got here Scorpion. I remember buying those. The value here, actually, that's probably gone up a bit since then, $2, etc. But the Scorpion, I quite like those stories. I was always disappointed that Atlas closed because it didn't last very long. I think there was about a couple of titles got to about issue 4 or 3, and that was it. And of course, you look down here, you've got millions of amount of titles and comics. Now, they did, of course, come out with some Atlas comics later, but sadly, that didn't last. Or did it? Is it still, I don't know anymore. Don't want to say that because it... Oh, I love that one. Sword of the Swashbucklers. That was quite good. So he's got lots of information about that. And again, one issue here near mint, $2. Not very much. Time Warp and so on. So you can see this book, Wow Comics, at the back, full set, of course. This is a thick, chunky volume. I really love it. Really pleased I picked this up. I was just looking through and I think I saw it on Facebook. Just someone mentioned it and said about this thing. I thought, oh, standard catalogue of comic books. When I went and looked, virtually all of them, I think all of them, in fact, were all based in the US. So I thought, and I saw one that was based in the UK, and I thought, well, yes, I will get that one. Because, of course, the trouble is you go for the US, and this has been, weighs a ton, probably $50 for the postage. So it's nice to actually pick up one of these sort of volumes. And it is just full of page after page and page. And I think actually, personally, better than the Overstreet. Maybe that's controversial, I don't know. But I've never been a fan of Overstreet. Everyone, I'm certain lots of people love it. But also we had a UK one as well, UK price guide. Sadly, that stopped. I love that book. I bought, I think I got most of the volumes of that, and they were just great. And sadly, it vanished, and that was it. And also the thing was about the UK one, it also featured all the comics, the UK comics as well. And of course, there's vast amounts of UK comics. Those sort of things never turn up in these sort of books. Likewise, of course, international ones. I mean, the fact it doesn't include any Brazilian or Ecuadorian or whatever comics. But this is still an impressive book. Standard catalogue of comic books. Really worth checking out. I think this is just a great book. 145,000 comic books. Lots of information. Really great, interesting reference book.